Is there a trade-off? Do you feel like that you can still make money and invest it responsibly?
So historically, the knock has been that to actually have responsible investing, you had to give up some performance. I think we're seeing now that that isn't the case.
Meanwhile,
Anheuser-Busch distributors are saying that they no longer expect Bud Light sales to ever recover following the company's partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney this past March. That is according to the New York Post. Now, after months of layoffs, hiring freezes, and sales dropping more than 25%, distributors are accepting their losses.
Okay, so ESG, environmental social governance. This has become a buzz term in recent years in politics because the conservatives, and rightfully so, have used it as a punching bag against the left and left-wing policies. And the left are saying, why are we doing this? Why are we wasting time talking about ESG? There's nothing to see here. Just ignore everything that has to do with ESG. Vivek Ramaswamy actually went after ESG yesterday. So before we get into his comments, I want to talk about what exactly is ESG. So like I said, it's an acronym that means environmental social governance. So basically, this is something that is pushing companies to behave in a certain way. It's basically a social credit system for corporations, mainly large corporations, but small corporations too. So these companies are rated, basically a scoring system, a metric system. Are you taking care of the environment in a way that follows green policies, in a way that follows Greta Thunberg and AOC and John Kerry, all those people? Are you following their guidance while you're running your business? Are you letting these left-wing activists dictate on how your company invests and spend money? Because if you are, that's going to boost your ESG score. Are you taking care of water? Are you not polluting the environment? Are you minimizing your waste? Are you diversifying and hiring? Are you following equity and inclusion? Are you paying your employees enough? So these are some of the things that determine what the ESG score is. So these companies are now being incentivized to follow this. So before I talk about why I don't think this is a good idea, let's look at what Vivek Ramaswamy had to say.
My general rule of thumb is if it comes in an acronym, if it's designed to sound boring, they want it to sound boring for a reason, actually. So they call it ESG today. After the work I've done in the last couple of years, I built a company to fight against this in capital markets, wrote a couple of books. What are they saying? We're not calling it ESG anymore. We're going to call it something else. Sustainability, whatever they use for the future. The reality is what's going on is this. They're using our money, the money of most of the people here this morning, to implement social and environmental agendas through the back door, through corporate America, using your retirement funds and your investment accounts to vote for racial equity audits or scope 3 emissions caps that you didn't know they were using your money to do, and that Congress would have never passed through the front door. So this is actually, I think, one of the grave threats to liberty today. Yeah. You know, wherever you stand on climate change, I think most of the climate change agenda, I'm just going to say it as a hoax. I'm going to call that for what it is. Wherever you stand on racial equity audits, I personally believe we're a country that should have a colorblind meritocracy. That's my view. But wherever you stand, we should settle that through free speech and open debate in the public square in a constitutional republic. That's the way we do things post-1776 on this side of the Atlantic. And what these guys are saying is, no. Not so fast, guys. The people of a nation, the citizens, cannot be trusted to sort out their differences on climate change or racial injustice because they'll get it wrong. So we have to do it in the back of palace halls. It used to be in the back of palace halls in Old World England. Today it's in the back of palace halls in a corner office, a BlackRock suite in Park Avenue in Manhattan. Either way, though, that's not how we do it in the United States of America.
So Joe Biden and the Department of Labor, they actually have a policy and executive order in place that allows and actually encourages corporations to consider when they're about to invest in some hedge fund, some ETF or whatever, when they're about to invest, they're encouraged to consider the environmental impact, the racial impact, stuff like that. So your business has nothing at all to do with that. But when you're about to invest, when you're trying to grow your business, you need to consider climate change. And you need to consider it from the perspective of left-wing activists. That's the problem with ESG, because they're encouraging companies to follow leftism. It's politics. They're basically pushing a political agenda through corporations. They're using corporations as the arms of the Democrat Party. Yeah, for example, let's check out this clip right here.
How effective is divesting as a method of making a difference?
So divestment is one tactic you can use. I think, we have certain industries where we do divest from. So weapons manufacturers, alcohol, gambling, tobacco, and then nuclear power. However, those are industries that we feel that they're put in that sin stock basket, and so we divest.
So nuclear is bad. For whatever reason, they have no valid reason, but they put nuclear in a basket of sin, a sin basket as he described it. Basically saying, hey, if you run a corporation, you don't invest in any company at all that has something to do with nuclear. You need to put this money on solar. You need to put it on wind if you're going to invest in energy. Stay away from oil. Stay away from natural gas. This is basically a handout to these green energy companies, because now when it comes to competitions, it's easier for them to grow. It's easier for these solar farms, these wind companies to grow, because all of the encouragement, all of the incentives are there for companies to invest in them. So natural gas companies, they're getting hit. They're also lumped in with nuclear. And this actually affects gas prices, because these natural gas companies, now they have smaller staffs. They have less money to work with, less capital. They grow much slower. So if there's ever a shortage of natural gas, gas prices are more volatile. They're more prone to spike, because the investments are being pushed away for something like that. And they're talking about climate change, but they don't want to invest in nuclear. They say, look, if you invest in nuclear and not solar, we're going to decrease your ESG score. So companies are saying, God damn, okay, well, I'm going to invest in solar. I'm going to invest in wind. I'm going to stay away from nuclear. So basically the reason why ESG sucks is because it's pushing left-wing policies. When it comes to hiring, when it comes to personnel, first of all, you are encouraged to pay people. Your average payroll needs to be a certain amount. And if you don't meet that amount, they're going to lower your ESG score. So even if you don't have the margin, the wiggle room to pay whatever that rate is, maybe you're just a little bit below that, it's going to hurt you. So you have to hurt your company. You have to take money that could be invested elsewhere to make the business better, to grow the business, and you have to pay people a certain amount. Maybe an amount that's not necessary, but because of ESG scores, you have to pay them that. So they suck because of that, and they suck because of this left-wing climate stuff. Another big example is Facebook. They actually got in trouble back in 2014. Their ESG score was lower because they had some privacy issues. So companies started saying, look, you know what? We're going to pull our money out of Facebook. So Wall Street hit Facebook hard, and Facebook basically said, God damn, in order to have a high ESG score, we need to do what they say. So these people came and said, Facebook, this is your company, but we're going to tell you how to run it. And if you don't do what we say, we're all going to pull out. So Facebook was incentivized. So all these other companies look at this, and they know if they don't follow these left-wing guidelines when it comes to climate, when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to equity and inclusion and diversity, if they don't follow those guidelines, investments are going to pull out. This is basically monetary blackmail to coerce companies to follow Democratic agendas. But we're getting a little bit of pushback. You can see Arizona, they just pulled out $500 million from BlackRock. They had all this money invested in retirement funds and all of that into BlackRock. But because BlackRock is deep into this ESG crap, into this nonsense, Arizona is saying, you know what, we out of here. We don't want to deal with y'all because you guys aren't putting the investors first. These guys are investing in order to make money. They're not investing to put some type of left-wing climate change agenda. Same thing with Florida. Florida is now suing Bud Light because Florida has a lot of money from their retirement fund for the state workers. They have a lot of money invested into Bud Light, into AB InBev, And when Bud Light decided to jump on this diversity train thing, they weren't thinking about their investors. They weren't thinking, how do we grow the money for the people who invested in our company? They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And because of that, their stock took an enormous hit. So Florida, with their investment in Bud Light, they took a hit. So Ron DeSantis is going after them, because this whole ESG thing is hurting investors, it's hurting retirees, it's hurting people who earn their pension. So more companies, first of all, more states, they need to stop investing, because if Biden and them are going to push this, if they're going to try to have the Department of Labor say, yeah, hey, it's all good, you guys need to consider ESG when it comes to investing, even if this stuff has nothing to do with your business. So if this is going to happen, we need more states to pull their money out of companies that are involved with this. We need companies who are not down with this whole left-wing activist crap. We need them to stop engaging in this stuff. And we need the everyday person who's investing to pay more attention to this, to take a look at the companies that you're considering. If they're involved in this crap, that means they're not going to put your money first. They're going to put left-wing policies ahead of growing your money. So we need the everyday person to pay more attention to this, to catch these companies and say, you know what? You're not going to put the investor first, so I'm not going to invest with you. Maybe a combination of these things can slow it down dramatically. And once we get a more sensible president back in office, he can get rid of that executive order and have the Department of Labor stay the hell out of private investment. So Vivek made good points, and I think ESG overall is not a great thing. So let me know what you think. Leave me your thoughts below, share the video. Thanks for watching.
Do you remember that one night when we fell in love? What we had felt so right.